You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marnie Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den with Chris Gillis, Bachelorette recap. What to do if you think he's pulling away. Ladies, welcome into the Dating Den. Chris Gillis just had his oatmeal. I just had my little blueberry vegan cookie breakfast item.
We're antioxidized.
We are. I'm so antioxidized. Except I have my, I drink that vanilla creamer, which is so unhealthy. That's like my.
No.
I know. That's my my cheat.
It's your one vice.
It's my one. Literally, that's all I have left. Okay. We are talking about the Bachelorette. Freaking Machete Katie. She just
right.
She's like, and you're out, which I really like. I think we've talked about this, like, just as a show perspective. Matt James was just like, he couldn't perform. He wasn't a good performer. It was so freaking predictable. Every single episode was a repeat of the last 5 seasons. And Katie comes in and she's just like, fuck that shit. Like, I actually want to find a guy. And so she's like a hybrid of it's starting to feel a little Claire-ish, where she's just kind of like going through the motions to get to the end, which we think is Greg.
Do you think she's a good breaker-upper?
No, I don't think she's a good. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Okay, so let's talk. We were going to talk about Brendan, who you called like the rooster because he's got this little flop of hair. So in the episode, so basically, the whole show, you get these one-on-one dates and it's a big deal. And rarely does someone get like a second one-on-one unless it's like, very rare, right? Because she's got to sort of go to the buffet and at least take a bite of everything. So we've got like 5 guys left or 6, and she delivers the date card, and it's freaking, Greg, who we think is the front runner. And so the other guys that have had no first dates, like, I loved this, which is like, it's so obvious, but it was funny that they said it. I don't see myself getting engaged if I've never had a date with her.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
That's so fair. Yeah, ladies, here's a tip from us. Don't get engaged to someone you've never been out on a date with. We teach you some pretty...
Like make out with all your guy friends too. Probably
exactly, yeah. We teach you some really important lessons here. But what I really liked is that one of the guys, Brendan, was sort of like... He was the one who didn't get a date card. And I think he was going to be the only one who didn't get a date card. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, why am I here? And I really liked that. And what I like about it for all our listeners is this. Like, you can like on other seasons, that character would rationalize like some bullshit story about like, oh, well, on the group dates, she really, spends a lot of time with me. Or, we have a look between us, and like, ladies, like, trust your gut, right? Like, if you feel like someone's pulling away, even though they're saying they're into you, right? Or, when you confront them, they're like, no, I see something with you. But then their actions don't back it up. Like, be direct. And that's what Brendan did. He was like, this is out. Like, something is off. Something's out of alignment. And so he walks down the hall, which probably actually we decided took like 10 hours because I feel like it was the middle of the night.
The Shining.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, beep, 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 beep. He knocks on the door and he says to Katie, and he basically makes his best offer, which I think he probably didn't need to sell himself at that point. But he was just like, you didn't give me a date card. Like, what's up? And then Katie is like, yeah, well, it's not going to happen. You should probably just go now. And so when you say she's a good breaker-upper, I mean, if I was really going to say, like, Katie, do what you've been doing, like, 100% like you have been, I feel like she could have she should have knocked on the door and gone to Brendan and be like, you didn't get a date card. Like, I don't want to play the game. Like, we just don't have a connection that's as strong as everyone else. You should go. instead of waiting for him to do it. And so I think like that would, and I always want that quality guy to do that for our ladies, right? Like, hey, I've been kind of MIA. I met someone else. I realized I'm not in a, it rarely happens. So we coach our women to do what Brendan did, which is something feels off. I'm looking for this. Feel like we're not on the same page. I loved that. I loved that he did that.
Yeah. We need you to slide back into Balake's DMs and figure out if
Balaka
producers Balaka or it's figure out if you have to have 4 people. Because I did feel like Brendan was just like a freak, like a place filler.
The whole time he was a placeholder. Yeah,
we were like we literally, guys, ladies, we had to look up his name just now to do this show. We're like, wait, that's how much of a place filler. I'm like, the season's about to freaking end. Who's going on hometowns where we like have no idea what their names are, like other than a rooster guy with the huge hair that he spent.
I thought when he first came out of the limo, I thought he was super cute, but then after he's very vanilla to me. Like I didn't really get like his personality even when he did his pitch for himself. I feel like he just doesn't have that thing. Now, let me say this, Mr. Gillis.
Yeah.
You said, should I watch Love Island? And we could talk about it. And I was like, there's nothing to talk about. But what I wanted to say is, first of all, I might be wrong. Secondly, there is a guy there who everyone is not interested in because they say he's too nice. Like he's sweet. He's too nice. Like he just doesn't have an edge. And I think there's this interesting place between vanilla and too nice. And I don't think maybe there is such a thing as too nice. What happens, though, I think, is that women don't see those vanilla guys or those too nice guys because they're just not charismatic enough. And Brendan could be like an amazing boyfriend. Yeah. I have no idea. He just wasn't a good character on TV, right? Like he looks good enough, right? Mm-hmm. And he just doesn't have he's not outgoing. He doesn't have charisma. Yeah. And so I would say in the spirit of, make sure you do a deeper dive with someone. I think that he got lost in the mix. Kind of like, what was the woman, Susan, what was the woman who had hearing impairment?
She's from Oregon as well. Not Katie. What is her name? She's Cutie. Is it not Isabel? Something like that.
They're all all the listeners are yelling at us to what their name is.
Yeah, screaming it. She's supposed to be the next Bachelorette.
Oh yeah. Her name was Abigail. Abigail. Okay.
Babe. Yes.
Abigail. So it kind of reminded me of Abigail, right? Like where she just kind of was vanilla, right? Like she had potential, but then she did sort of she got lost in the crowd. So anyway, I'm just saying, ladies, if you're out sometime and there's a bunch of guys and your eye's gonna go to the big, charismatic, outgoing person, make sure you see everyone in the room. Give them a chance.
100%.
That's all I want to say.
Two things on Brendan. Number one, you said a second ago how he had that long, sweaty walk across the hall conversation. And I just want to point out how, to any of the listeners who've had that or have been thinking about that, how if you notice your palms start shaking or you're nervous or your voice gets cracked, it's scary, scary shit. And I felt him. And I don't know if any of you guys picked it up, but he was shitting his pants and his voice, it's happened to me before. He was so incredibly nervous. He could barely get his voice was really croaky. And his hands were, you could tell, they were trembling. I mean, it takes bravery. And I know it's easy for us, sitting over here, not, with our hearts tied in a relationship and with the past that some of you guys have, but it is worth acknowledging and preparing and understanding that, hey, just because it's super scary or fearful, it must, be the wrong thing, or that we're, dismissing and playing off. The truth is, it is very, very hard. But good Lord, it's so incredibly important and freeing. And just like she pointed out, if he wouldn't have done that, that Band-Aid, it would have gotten worse if he would have torn off, if he had met the parents and, and subjected himself to being just another pawn, another placeholder for her. So I just didn't want to minimize that because I felt my stomach was tight and I felt nervous when he was speaking. I'm like, this poor bastard, he is like memorizes and gone and said he's so incredibly scared right now and doing this in front of everybody. Just wanted to give him props for
I agree.
having courage.
I agree. And that's why, our whole brand is shifting into the Institute for Living Courageously, because in the end, like living from your truth, right? Like knowing something is off, like I have self-worth, right? Like takes courage. And I think that is what we saw from these two guys that got booted in this episode, which, Andrew, I thought Andrew was in the top, if you're going to rank them. Like, I thought it was going to be between Andrew and Greg, to be honest, at the end. Because I still can't remember the other guys' names. Blake and Justin. I'm like, Justin?
Michael A.
I literally don't remember Justin's date. I remember Michael A. just because he's sweet. Like, he's the nice guy with the kids and everything like that. But Andrew, I want to make sure we get this in. Andrew, she basically doesn't give him a rose. He's shocked. I was shocked. Bachelor Nation was shocked. And he leaves, and she's like sobbing and just fair.
I sobbed a little bit. Did you cry at all?
I didn't cry, but I was just
teared up. Dude.
I was just like, this kid is such a big-hearted dude, and we found out later he's cousins with Clay, who's another Bachelor franchise character who I also really thought was sweet. He was on Bachelor in Paradise. So anyway, good stock, nice family. But anyway, so, and then she has second thoughts. And I think this is kind of what happens with people when they break up and make up and they get back together and they break up and whatever. And what I really, really loved, and I would want our listeners to do what Andrew did, is to not do that, right? Like when you break up with someone, I call it the one last thing text. Like you break up and then you're like, by the way, blah, 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 and then you engage again. And so he basically comes back in person because he can't do the one last thing text. And he's basically like, we had this really hard ending. There were tears. Like, I want to end on a smile. We had a good thing. I accept this decision, like best of luck kind of a moment. And then he gives her a card that says, if you change your mind, let me know, basically. Which was interesting. And
did she open up that card? I freaked out. I was like, I think he said when you're alone or when
it's over or whatever. Yeah.
Babe, is she like a little kid who can't wait to open her presents, or was she supposed to open the card?
She's probably supposed to open the card. I don't know, because he had a camera crew following him out. That was weird.
They made him take the stairs. I guess.
There was the stairs.
Like you walk slow.
You would take the elevator. Yeah, that was probably staged. But she's like, wait, would you come back? Right? Like, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to break up with you. Right? Which happens. And what I loved about him was he was like, that sounds tempting because it would be easy, right? Because there's familiarity. We obviously care for each other. And I know this is what ladies do. But he remembered why she thought they weren't a match to begin with. And I think this is really important. Actions are really, really important. And so if you didn't choose me to begin with, do I really want to be the backup person? I don't. He has self-worth, and he trusted the process. Really he did. He's like, you know what? This process, like, if you would have wanted to be with me, you would have chosen me. He held his head up high, and he did not get back together with her. And I think that is so important because we see women, and men do this too, I'm sure, right? I mean, I'm sure you have friends who've done this. Break up, get back together. Break up, get back together. And that can go on for years.
That's funny. So it says, remember I said I had two things I wanted to mention to Brendan, and this ties it back in. I was going to ask you if you read the book Attached, because two parts about the book Attached is, they talk about the different attachment types. And you mentioned how you're talking about chemistry and how Brandon was kind of vanilla, and there wasn't, and then you also said he could, he most likely could make has the qualities to make a really good boyfriend.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We had no idea. But yeah, and they also talked last night. I was reading a chapter about how easy it is to get back together, and how it just feels like mother's milk to come back home. To that person with that different attachment style, and why breakups and staying broken up are so. There's a whole chapter is like, hey, look. One chapter's like, yeah, okay, when you're done, don't move on. It's like, okay. Next chapter's like, yeah, okay, I know you didn't listen to us, so you hook back up with him.
Right.
And I feel like, here's what to do, how to do it less often. Let's be real here, because it is so hard not to run down those stairs and second guess yourself from both parties and say, well, maybe I screwed up. But to really, like you said, tie back into the actions and what happened before in history, and instead of just allowing her to God, it must have felt so good just to see. You see his eyes when they opened up, and she called his name, and he turns the corner. It was like, oh, I'm like, I shed a tear. I was like, oh my God, she really does want him, which made me feel all good inside, because it sure he fucking felt so rejected. But but how to resist that urge to to go for that easy, quick, everything's going to be okay, hug, versus like, no, I'm going to be fine, and this is a part of it, and trusting that you made the right decision. So,
well, yeah,
amazing book.
And somebody has to. So, and I always tell my clients, like, someone has to be the grown up, right? Like, someone has to be the Andrew and be like, you know what, like, big hug, like, but no. And sometimes it's not going to be the guy, right, ladies? You're going to have to just be in the pain of that decision, because one thing that I will never forget, my coach said to me when I was breaking up with somebody when I was single, and I was just so sad about it, and I was so devastated. I was like, did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? And she was like, just because you're sad doesn't mean that it was a mistake. It just means you're sad about it. And I was like, that's so deep. Right, because we think if we're really upset that maybe it was the wrong thing, right? But maybe we're just really sad, and it was the thing we needed to do in that moment. So I always thought that was a solid way to look at it. Okay, so Andrew is out. I do think, by the way, and so now we can just talk about show purposes. I think, and we talked about this, that she booted him because low-key she's just going to pick Greg. And she really cares about Andrew, and she just feels better vibes, and Andrew is not her guy. And she doesn't want to take him through the whole dog and pony show. That's my thought.
I think that, and I did a little, Instagram stalking. I think it's the first person I ever added. I've never added guys like, dude, I like this guy.
I love it.
His mom looks like the kind of mom you don't fuck with, and I could imagine like the earful that his mom would have given Katie if she was wishy-washy about her amazing son, which he does, by all accounts, seem to be pretty freaking awesome. So yeah, she seems like the kind of guy like, nah, you don't want to lock horns with this woman unless you're gonna pick him. So that's my other.
I love it. Okay, because we are such a fan of Andrew. The other thing that he did, which I think is really great, and he's consistent. So I always tell women, like, avoid the most amazing guy syndrome. You're looking for someone who's going to exhibit these values consistently over time. So why Chris Gillis has followed Andrew is because he's done that. Because he has the conversation with Katie. We talked about this, I think, in the last recap about the race conversation. Like, that's a hard conversation. He has it right up front. And then the next time he has a moment to talk to her, at least that we see, he says, let's talk about career, right? Like, I am not sure I'm ready to give up my career as a professional athlete. I'm still young enough, but I could be willing to give that up. But if I didn't want to, like, what would that look like for you? We need to talk about that, because I am a football player in Austria or wherever he is, right? And I just really, again, modeling, have those tough conversations at the beginning. And I will do another Love Island reference. And again, maybe we should talk about it. But there's a character on there who is literally like our client. She is super successful, super ambitious, knows what she wants, very masculine. And there's a guy that was really attracted to her at the beginning. And now he's like, whoa, like, there's no room for me. And in the producer interview, he's like, I think she might be too busy to have a relationship. And he asks, like, on their first official date, he says, I would love to have like 4 kids one day. I would love this. And she's like, kids? Oh my God, no. And then she was like, I don't want to have kids because that would put me in the position of having to be like the housewife. And that's not how I see myself. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I really want to give these reality show characters like kudos for just, getting that out of the way, because what this kid on that show said is he ends up breaking up with her. And he's like, look, you're very ambitious. Like, that's not really what I'm like. You can be like, I just don't see my life that way. And I want kids and you don't. And she's like, well, I think you should get to know me more. And he was like, no, I need to do what I know is right.
You date another chick.
Yeah, exactly. Like we like, you're attractive and I'm attracted to you, but we totally want these different things. And so Andrew is saying like, this is what I might want to work and live abroad. Like where would you be with that? Now, I love Katie so far, but I became a little frustrated with her because what she ended up saying to him and someone else about Michael A, who has a kid, would you want to be like a soccer mom at 30 or whatever? And she was like, yeah, sure. I mean, we'll deal with that when we have to.
Yeah.
And she said that to Andrew. Yeah, we'll deal with that when we have to.
Deal. It's like, do you want a Comcast or Spectrum cable? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, cool. Yeah,
yeah.
No, dummy. She just so flippantly acknowledged it or wrote it off. So, yeah, we'll figure it out. So
I don't know if, again, she's just saying this shit because she just needs to get to the fucking end. And she's like, yeah, sure. That's it. Because it seems kind of out of character. But then what Michael A says in his producer interview is, she just said, if we love each other, that's enough. We can get through anything. And what did I say?
You said bullshit.
Yeah, I'm like, that is not true. If you think that, if someone says that to you, get your freaking Nikes and run the other direction, because that is just not true in my experience.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think is going to, on that same vein, do you think Michael A, who does have kids, do you think he's going to have, and now we got hometowns coming up, do you think he's going to bail? Pull a Brendan?
Well, so we saw a trailer where Michael A is talking to his kid on the FaceTime, and the kid says something like, do you not love me anymore because you're not coming back? And he's like, and then we see a scene of him possibly leaving. So my guess is he doesn't even get to hometowns.
Would you have gone on The Bachelor if as a young mom? No.
When I went to do the Hoffman process,
Jeremy was waiting there for you, your love of your life, but you had to leave your kids.
I wouldn't have done it. Not for 6 or 8 weeks. No, I wouldn't have done it. No. When I went to the Hoffman process, my kids were really young. They were like, like 4, 8, and 10 or 11 or whatever. And and I remember my plan was, I was like, I'm not going to give up my phone. I'm going to like low key call them and like that. Cause like a mother you wouldn't leave your kids for like a week. And then, after the whatever, and they're like, okay, don't, turn in your phone or whatever. I was like, I remember I called my ex-husband and I was like, you know what? I need to do this 100%. Like, are you cool if I like just, peace out for a week, and here's the number of where I am if you need me. And he was like, I totally support you. By the way, Chris Gillis, I have to tell you this and everyone else.
Oh, tell me.
Speaking of Hoffman, on our trip that I took recently with the kids, Chloe was like, how old was she? She was probably like 10 or 11 after I did Hoffman. Yeah. And she said she remembers how different I was when I came back.
Really?
She was like, I just remember like you were so happy and you just were so like relaxed and like softer, is what she said. Isn't that insane?
Yeah. That is really insane. Did she say anything about like life getting easier and harder? Because a lot of people are freaked out about their spouses going, it's like, oh my God, he's going to come and change and, and start enforcing boundaries and not let me walk over them or whatever is going on, or leave me, in some extreme cases on there, which by the way, the Hoffman process, says do not do that. Don't do no major changes for 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, we didn't really talk about that. I mean, they all know that I did it, and they obviously have seen how I created my life as a result of working on myself, and and we created our program to compensate for the like those gaps and those holes. Like, because after you do something really profound and then you don't have any support after, you're like, blah, right? So that's why when we do stuff with our clients that are really intense, we have them in a bigger container. Shameless plug for what we do, but. Anyway, what I wanted to say was...
Do you have to wear, like, culty clothes like Brendan and Katie had to do
that wasn't Brendan. That was what? Mike, you said his name
Mike,
was.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah,
Mike. Yeah, that culty thing was so weird, the hugging, cuddling thing. We
all called out, like, this ain't going to happen.
No, it's like, I feel like... Here, okay, if I'm a producer and I'm sitting with Katie, this is how I imagine it went down. She's like... Look, Polly producer, I picked Greg. I'm done. She's like, and Polly producer's like, all right, well, we need to decision tree out all these other guys. So, Mike, you have like, who do you want to go on a date with and break up on the date? She's like, Mike. Okay, great. We'll send you in some weird, awkward romance thing that we do with everyone. We have a formula for that breakup. We'll make him so uncomfortable. It'll be easy. Okay. She's like, great. Thanks. Okay. What do you want to do with, Brendan? Keep him around. I'll just not give him a rose. Okay. Brendan doesn't go with, he walks around that plan and excuses himself. They're like, you know what? You're going to have to do one surprise. She's like, okay, I have a surprise for you. I have an idea of what I could do. Okay, great. And then she's like, all right, well, now you got these other 4 guys left, whatever. I really think at this point, it's all just strategic so that we get to Greg at the end. So
we
would
shit our pants if they pulled 2 Claires in a row, right? We'd be like, this is horseshit. We got like 3 crappy. We got from Claire to what's his name, to Matt James, to this. Like, wait, if she pulled like another Claire and ended the season, 2 episodes in.
They're like, please. They're like,
Love
please.
Island it is. Let's go.
Yeah, we might. I don't know. We might switch to Love Island. I don't know. It's
or we got fuck boys coming, F boys.
Yeah, we have the fuck boy show.
Well, the 26th. I put it on my calendar.
I know. We will definitely watch that. Also, there's a total fuck boy on Love Island who a girl comes in. And he's like, "You're my type of paper." Like, she has to choose between Chugs and this guy Brad, and then of course she picks for the hot guy, and then 2 new girls come in, and then he's literally saying the exact same thing to another girl. He's like, "Oh my God, I've been looking the whole time for you." Blah 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 blah. But he's dumb as a stump, so I don't think she's going to pick him.
I really want to watch Love Island. However, we talked about this. Dude, Love Island, it is nothing happens, but for some reason it's just like, you're invested. You still want to see who goes off. And they say the same shit every time. I get to know you now, or, they pretend that it's all just jokes in it. They say the same. No, it's like no originality thought, but I want to see. They're on YouTube TV. If you walk in late on a sports game, it'll let you watch like key highlight moments. So it'll catch you up. If you join in the fourth quarter, and turn the TV on and say, do you want to watch highlights in like 30 seconds to a minute? It'll show you everything that's substantial that you missed. I wish they had that for Love Island.
They do. They do on Sundays. They do. They call it like, well, they call it something different. It used to be basically like the hot takes or whatever it is, but they do. Okay. They have like an hour. Well, it's an hour, I think. I never watch it, but they have a whole show where they do the highlights and they do the bloopers and stuff like that. So you could catch up. You could catch up.
Okay, what's the season with what you keep referring about?
I think we're watching season 8. If you want to watch people, maybe we'll start talking about Love Island, but. They had a whole conversation about plastic surgery, and the guy's like, I don't like fake stuff. And these women were like, we're offended. Like, I got, plastic surgery to make up. It's a whole conversation to make up for my insecurities. Me and Jeremy were like, but shouldn't you also deal with your insecurities and get enhancements? Like, wouldn't you do both? Like, anyway. Totally
that
good
reminds
conversation.
Me, yes. Last week, we were talking about, so I had an aha moment last week. So we were talking about, speaking of plastic surgery. We were like, man, I was saying, God, Caitlin Bristow, she was cute to start with. And then she slowly, she went up, whatever. Maybe she did a little touch here, a little touch there. And she kept touching and touching and touching and touching. And we're like, now she looks like a girl who kind of sort of looks like Caitlin Bristow. And I was like, well, I think I was saying, dude, no guys, we find her much less attractive now, even though she's put in so much work and all this stuff. My aha moment was, because I've always thought about it being a guy, and I'm sure, being vain. And I was like, man, I think if I see these guys who are just yoked out of their mind, and I show like Emily to be like, hey, do you think this, what do you think of this guy? She's always like, ew,
ew, me too. Yeah.
Isn't that funny, babe?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because the same way I was busting her balls for, I was like, well, who are you doing this for? Because it's making you a less, decreasing your social market value for your aesthetics. I didn't see the irony that I'm like, yeah, like, chasing and like, admiring these guys who girls are like, ew.
Ew.
And yet they're in the return on investment, and they can't, they're so incredibly committed to looking ew. But all the guys like, bro, sick calves, dude.
Yeah.
Giving props to him. It was just so funny because, like, God, what a hypocrite I am, and some of us guys are as well. To at least me, living out here in Southern California, to wanting this insanely Arnold Schwarzenegger, like,
ew, don't do it. Don't do it.
So weird how what is wrong with us guys?
I don't know. I mean,
cool.
I think
our He-Man figures, our action figures, like that's all we wanted, as little kids. Our wrestlers want to look like the wrestlers who are all dead now. They're all stroked out.
Yeah.
Steroids and coke and being too excessive. And yet girls are like, ew. And we're like, that's the ultimate man. No, when the girls like, no, ew, that guy's so gross.
No.
But that was a helpful hot take from you, man.
I know. I mean, but also everyone likes different things. So there's something for everyone. So that's my story.
Some girls like the ooey. Okay.
All right, let's wrap up with our predictions. I do think it's going to be Greg.
Yeah.
And you said, that she is like a nurse with him, and that she is attracted to his resting sad face. And I said I disagree, but tell me why you think that.
Okay. So I think that now, in the meantime, I think that he is making her like anxious by his because he doesn't seem like a sweet guy, by his unsureness, and he's kind of wavering, and I think that makes so she's kind of bringing her, like, she's pulling this caretaker role, emotional caretaker. I want to say she's very reaffirming and reassuring and coach. And he said something, and it was kind of telling. He's like, my sister, used to tease me and make fun of me for kind of being like a little bitch boy, and look,
that he was like skinny and like, very like small for his age and things like that.
Yeah. Actually, no, yeah, he said that. Sure, he was smaller and he got bullied, but I was like, no, but look, a lot of us guys, I was tiny too. But I think just the more of just the anxious type, and I think she's encouraging that, and I don't think that. That's necessarily helping him be more secure. And I think that it's going to get old at some point. I've been there. You may have been there, where you're like, let me fix this person. Let me help. Let me reassure this person. Let me constantly be the edge of their swimming pool to make sure that they don't drown. And I think,
like that.
Yes, it feels so good. And I talk about it sometimes. She's kind of doing the masculine thing, right? In past episodes, I'm like, man, it feels so good when a guy can come in there and help and be a rock and help out our ladies, emotionally, oftentimes. But it's at some point when she becomes like this permanent life preserver, I think she's gonna be like, hey, dude, like, you don't have to be, you're not gonna drown. Stop it. It's gonna be okay. And I think eventually she's gonna get tired of it, and it's gonna manifest itself into other nervous ways. Maybe she's going to coffee with a good-looking coworker. I don't know.
I disagree. I disagree. Okay.
His cute floppy hair and puppy dog.
I do like his floppy hair, and I love that floppy hair and puppy dog guys. But I'm taking this in the analysis of the context of the show. I think. So what I do know about him, if I'm correct, is that he never watched the show. He doesn't know about the show. I don't think he's a fan of the show, right? So I think he signed up for this thing, and he's like, this is so stupid. And he's like, I dig this girl. I just have to like not pay attention to any of this TV stuff and just sort of suck it up. And I think she is constantly validating him because perhaps off camera he has said, like, this is not me. Like, this TV thing, this being followed around by a camera thing. Like, this is really hard for me because he has not demonstrated, at least in the edits that they've shown, he has not been in conflict with any of the guys. He's never said, I'm jealous of any of the other guys. It's not hard for me to yeah, and I think he's just the story I'm making up is he's just like, oh, this is so painful. This is so hard because she keeps saying, I'm afraid you're going to leave. And he doesn't act to me like he's going to leave. So I just wonder if there's ever been off-camera conversations about him. And so I just think that when they're editing it together, she's just like, oh, God, please don't leave. I'm going to pick you. Just don't leave. Okay. Now, his resting sad face, I think, is just like his own internal conflict of like, do I want to be out of integrity with myself so that I can stay here? I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
But I haven't outwardly see him like the other guys who are like, I want to leave. There's a lot of guys who are like, I can't. It's so hard, like, to see this woman I love with other people. We haven't had any of that. So I don't know. I think, and also then, you know, he shares a lot, right? He's emotional. He shares his insecurities. Yeah. And I think what's really interesting, what you said, and I think a lot of women do this, and we don't know what the truth is because it's a TV show, but one thing I do hear from men is on the man panel and in some of my research is that women want men who are like emotional and honest and vulnerable. But then when they are, they're like, don't be such a pussy, right? Like, grow up. Like, why are you mad about that? Why are you scared about that, right? And they're like, rah, you know? And so, like, he's getting judged for it, or he's calling, like, resting sad face, but maybe he's just being emotionally available. I don't know.
The truth is, when we go, like, hey, I need you to be this thing that you're not normally at. And then when we do it, I was going to say shittily. When we do it terribly, you're like, what's wrong with you? You're like being a little puss boy. Blah, blah, blah. Like, good Lord, I don't know how to do this. I'm doing showing my vulnerability and feelings. And sorry, I'm not doing it right because this is uncharted, unfamiliar territory. So it is. Yeah, so have some compassion, ladies, if he comes across as a...
His resting sad face. Maybe he's just going through... You know, the other day...
trying something new.
Trying something new. The other day, I said to Jeremy, like, oh, I didn't sleep very well. And he, like, put his arms around me. He was like, I'm sorry. Like, and he gave me this big hug. And I realized that. And I said, oh, my God, sometimes when he tells me he didn't sleep well, I'm so mean to him about it. Yeah. I'm like... Well, why? What are you worrying about? You don't have anything to worry, right? And he's just saying, like, I said I didn't sleep well, and he was so loving and kind of supportive. And so I was like, oh my God, I just realized I'm so mean to you when you say you didn't sleep well. I need to stop that.
Love that. Yeah. So I guess I got a little Greg in me. So is your $5 bet to Chris Gillis in say 6 months when the show wraps up and we see her and Greg put a ring
with her new plastic surgery that she'll get.
Oh God, please no.
That they all get after the show. She'll be a blonde. Here's my $5 bet. She'll be with Greg. She'll be a blonde. She'll definitely have a boob job.
That's a parlay bet. If you win, I'll give you $50 of all three of those. Okay. Still be with Greg. Boob job.
A boob job and maybe like some lip filler.
Lip filler. Teeth done, all that. So do you think? Okay, so you do think that there? I think my guess is in 6 months it's going to be a no-go. I think she's going to. I don't know. I'd like to see something else happen. But
okay, here's my other opposite bet is that they're together and we never hear from them again.
Ooh.
Like they're not like The Bachelor, like boy toy and girl like showpieces. They're like they go off, they do their life. Kind of like I don't even know. Like
because they disappeared so well. They're all
they disappeared so well.
Living in an Airstream somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And actually, Deanie Babies and I think he has a podcast. I was going to say I think they have kind of like disappeared, but maybe they don't do that. Maybe they can't because they sign contracts. But those are my two bets. They're like they're just go off and they're be happy and they try and live a normal life, or they just are like freaking the new Ashley, I, and Jared. By the way, who are pregnant. Very exciting. Ashley, and Jared, if you didn't know that. I think we covered all the topics. I do think it's going to be Greg. I do think that
How are hometowns going to go down? What's going to happen in hometowns?
Well, I think that Michael A. isn't going to have one.
Yeah, me too.
Justin, like, I don't even, who is he? Like, I don't even know why he's there. So
he's good at drawing roses.
Yeah. He's an artist. Yeah, whatever. I think Blake is going to, they did show a trailer of Blake's hometown, didn't they? They showed somebody's, I can't remember who it was. Blake is just like, he's not in love with her. He's not going to be in love with her. I think we didn't talk about this, and then we have to wrap it up, but he basically is like, I'm not in love with you, but I could be. And I could.
Oh, yeah.
And she is like, okay.
What was that?
Well, I mean, good for him. Like, he's, again, not trying to win, just honest. And I think that because Greg said, I'm falling in love with you, and he's the only one who has, like, why would she want to be with somebody who's not in love with her? Because I think she's actually smart, and I think she knows that they have great chemistry, but nothing else. So I think Blake is out.
And by chemistry,
she just wants to make out with them.
Corny.
Yeah.
She
likes making out with them.
He's like the antithesis of Greg, where I feel like Blake, like, as soon as the action, the cameras are on, he comes on, and I feel like Greg, like, actually just shuts off, turns, he sits down, slumps down, and just waits for the rose ceremony. And he's not out there performing.
Totally. And Blake, like, if we could watch like a montage of Blake from the first time we met him on Claire's season, where he was like really insecure and he had to do the crying, screaming date to like, hey guys, I just can't get over Claire. Whatever. Now he's become this little celebrity, and he's just this cocky motherfucker. Like, I just think he went from like super insecure and weird and awkward to like overcompensating. I'm like the shit. And so, blech.
I just figured out Claire cured him. It worked. She had him screaming and burning shit and smashing photos. She
transformed him. That and several tens of thousands of dollars to continue to come back on BN TV shows. Cured him.
You don't need the Hoffman process. You need one 30-minute session with
Claire Crawley.
Everything will be cleansed. All your past traumatics, whatever. Boom. Just put Claire Crawley out.
And you can get a haircut. It's all good.
Very true.
Ladies, I love you, Chris. Next week, Monday, Jeremy won't be there, but the party's still on. Ladies, whatever you do, have the conversation. Be direct and do it with some damn dignity. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high-caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marnie Batista, and let's talk soon.